think it's safe to say confidence in execution and how this manager wants to play is starting to grow. Chelsea go away to West Ham and come away 3-0 winners. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review, but more specifically a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance against West Ham, in which we were 3-0 winners for the first time in I can't tell you how long, away to West Ham. But before we get into all that, please do me the favor, hit the like button, hit the bell notification button, and subscribe if you haven't already. We are trying to grow this channel, and the only way we can do that is with your help. So without further ado, let's get into the match review. I think it's safe to say now that after 5 games, Chelsea have gotten off to a good start under Enzo Maresca. Obviously, we played the champions, the toughest team in the competition, first day of the regular season, and we're unlucky to not get anything out of that game. The only other game where we didn't take all 3 points was against Crystal Palace, where I thought we played well enough to take all 3 points. It was just an unlucky deflection that fell into the path of Eze that robbed us of getting of all 3 points. And I think today against West Ham, we finally started to see what it is Maresca is working on the training pitch. We started to see his idea of football come to fruition, and did it in a very, very different fashion to what we're normally used to, with Chelsea dominating possession. You know, Chelsea always trying to be the protagonist in the game. We didn't see that as much today as we have in games past. What we did see under Maresca today was a tactical flexibility and an ability to play a different way of football that is just as lethal as being the protagonist and the ones that are always on the front foot, possession-based football. We saw Chelsea drop their line a little bit deeper to soak up pressure and then hit teams on the counter. West Ham was exposed mightily. We will get into that. But let's not get it twisted. West Ham were extremely poor. There's one thing that I just cannot stand to see in football is when teams press but have no intent on winning the ball, like no desire, no passion to try and snap in on challenges to win the ball. And this is just so evident the entire first half. Again, showing press, but not showing the intent to win the ball back, like really committing a lot of bodies forward, making the pitch so expansive for Chelsea to play right through. And, you know, when you do that, when you commit so many bodies forward to the press and you don't win the ball back, and Chelsea are able to play through the middle, that's when you get yourself into trouble, and it happened time and time again. And this is further evidence for the second goal. I mean, a lovely move by Chelsea, no doubt, but like we are just toying with them in the midfield. Like clearly, West Ham have not laid a glove on Chelsea the entire first half. Like you see here, you know, we're just toying with them in the middle. You see Caicedo, Cucurella, and Cole Palmer just like passing it around with nobody looking to put in any sort of a challenge. And, you know, it's only until Alvarez is coaxed out of his position to go chase after Enzo that Chelsea get the third man run. And again, we release Jackson in on goal, and it's bang, great finish. Chelsea are up 2-0 with absolutely no resistance from West Ham whatsoever. And this happened so many times in the game where Chelsea were just looking for those third man runs to get in behind West Ham, who are playing very aggressively high, you know, pressing up the pitch, like condensing the pitch, but leaving so much space for us to exploit. I mean, Colwell was just pinging passes into the likes of Jackson at will when he was coming deep, or even Cole Palmer for that matter. And, you know, when you have that, when you have absolutely no resistance from the midfield from West Ham, where Chelsea are playing with obviously their box 4 and West Ham are playing with essentially 2 in the middle with the wing backs and whatnot. 30 minutes into the first half, Lopetegui's looking to switch his tactics because he clearly sees that he just doesn't have enough bodies in the midfield to cope with what Chelsea are doing, and the one that he was relying on, Rodriguez, was just not doing enough. I mean, we finally saw the fruits of the labor, Maresca's system coming to fruition. I mean, clearly what we saw in the first half was Chelsea just inviting West Ham to come onto the ball, inviting them to press. And then, you know, once they committed enough bodies forward, Chelsea were just able to cut through them with a hot knife through butter. I don't know why West Ham were so open. I mean, I don't know how they expected to win this game playing so open, but, you know, to Chelsea's credit, man, they took advantage of every opportunity that was presented to them. Now, clearly, when you play with Summerhill, Bowen, and Kudos as your front three, what you're looking to do is get in behind. You know, you're thinking that Chelsea are going to be playing this high line and you're going to be having runners get in behind. And, you know, Maresca, again, tactically outwitting Lopetegui at every turn. Chelsea just dropped their line and gave them no space to play in behind, and it worked to perfection. Obviously, with guys like Bowen, Kudos, and Somerville playing in front of you, there's absolutely no threat whatsoever, especially when we have intimidating center backs, the likes of Tosin, you know, Coolwell, and Fofana, who's playing right back, but also made up that back three. You know, there was just no space for them to get in behind and really execute. Now, obviously, in defense of Lopetegui, if you examine Chelsea's first 4 games, you would think that Chelsea are going to be playing a high line, you know, condensing the pitch for our press sequences, you know, pressing from the front with Cole Palmer and Nico Jackson trying to get that first wave to produce turnovers and Chelsea get on the break and whatnot. But, you know, clearly with West Ham playing with a back five, a back three, back five, and, you know, building out with a back three, they were 3v2 when Chelsea were when they were playing out, and for that reason Chelsea just dropped off. They were in no position to win the ball high up the pitch, so they dropped the line back a bit more, and it gave West Ham all sorts of problems. You know, they just did not know what to do with the ball. We took away the middle areas of the pitch. Paqueta wasn't able to get on the ball. Alvarez was the guy who was basically initiating their first wave, the first phase of their build-up phase, and it was unsuccessful at finding anybody really. We just stifled the middle. Caicedo doing a fantastic job. We'll get into him later, as I said before. And whenever they tried to go over the top, there was just no room for the likes of Bowen, Kudos, or Somerville to get in behind. I just thought the game plan was very, very well executed defensively. Obviously, we were very, very compact, spaces of maybe 5 to 7 meters between the defense and the midfield, and then the midfield and the attackers and whatnot. And we just gave them nothing to play through. And, beyond that, like when they were trying to work it through the middle, we had this like absolute pit bull in the midfield in the form of Moises Caicedo, who I think won about 8 tackles, won about like 10 of 12 of his ground duels as well. He was just a man mountain the entire game. And when Chelsea were really, really good, we were able to not only defend in numbers and break down whatever attacking move they had, but we're also able to quickly break on them when they were committing a lot of bodies forward in the second half and whatnot. So again, just a well executed game plan. When we were in our defensive sequences, we really were resolute. We didn't really give them a lot of opportunities to exploit spaces, and those crosses, those diagonal crosses that they're looking to hit on, they got in behind a couple times. I think Somerville almost scored in the first half, just couldn't get his head on it. And there's another one where I think Souček crashed the box from a diagonal cross and almost got on it as well. But other than those two opportunities where I thought, we probably could have been better, more switched on in those situations, I thought defensively we were sound and we didn't really give them much to do. Now, clearly, Lopetegui was very, very upset with his midfield, obviously subbing off Rodriguez at about 37 minutes for Souček, and then later subbing off Alvarez for Soler, because they were just could not come to grips with this game. And the reason why they were having so much problems was because of one man in particular, and his name is Moises Caicedo. He just bossed the game. I mean, obviously I cannot rob Nico Jackson of being the man of the match with 2 goals and an assist, but if there was a close runner-up and a player that I thought that was just immense from minute 1 to minute 90, it had to be Moises Caicedo. I mean, time and time again was he ever there to intervene and snuff out any sort of attacking move that West Ham were attempting. He was just all over the place, very much reminiscent of what we were like when we had N'Golo Kante patrolling our midfield. This is what you pay 115 million for. This is what you pay for this quality. This quality, the ability to control a game from the midfield, not just defensively in transition. Obviously, the ball through for Nico Jackson for the second goal. Obviously, we had a little bit more of a numerical advantage in there with the likes of Moises Caicedo, Cole Palmer, Cucurella, and Fernandes making that box in front of their defense. But overall, even without that box, whether or not we played with a box 4 or not, I felt like Chelsea were just in dominating form, and it had a lot to do with the fact that Moises Caicedo was just imperious throughout the game. But I do think I'm going to wrap it up there. Chelsea, impressive game. Just doing whatever they wanted to do on the pitch with no resistance from West Ham whatsoever. You know, obviously the game plan was spot on, looking to drop the line about 10 to 15 yards a little bit deeper to allow for West Ham to come on to us, only to hit them, spring them on more direct, you know, those more direct counterattacks and whatnot. I thought that we were just so razor sharp. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. You know, it seems to me that this game plan, Maresca's idea of football, is really starting to take to the squad. They understand what they need to do. They understand where they need to be to break through teams. They understand how to do it effectively. They showed a lot of resoluteness, like absorbed a lot of pressure, and were able to spring on them at will throughout the match. And you know, these are still early doors. We're 5 games in, but I'm really starting to think that, you know, this is, if we can continue on this path and this team starts to grow in confidence as we're seeing the last like 5 games right now, you know, sky's the limit, you know, really is the limit. We're still not seeing the best of this Chelsea side, and we're getting good results regardless of who it is we're playing. You know, as I said earlier, you know, the only game that was really disappointing for me was the Crystal Palace game, where I don't think that we played well. I thought we played well enough to win, but, you know, unfortunate not to get all 3 points in that one. And, you know, if we continue on this trajectory, 5 games in, 6 games in, 7 games in, 8 games in, and start to build some real momentum, then we might be onto something for this season, you know. But until then, keep the blue flag flying high, and up the Chelsea. Peace.